Huge news for the unemployed over the weekend. Top Marvel Rivals streamers Necros caught up in some juicy AI drama. But the weird thing is, he didn't even use the AI himself. Let me explain. So in the past few years since Elon Musk has taken over X, he's integrated a new AI system called Grok. And this was just a glorified search engine at first, but recently it's developed the capability of AI image generation. Now this isn't uncommon in AI, but the novelty of Grok is that you can reply to posts with @Grok, and it'll perform the functions it would in private, in public, while posting the result. And recently, some crafty individuals have discovered certain phrases that bypass safety protocols, allowing them to generate lewd imagery of real images, of real people, in their comments, and you can imagine what a stir this caused over the weekend. How this connects to Marvel Rivals is through everyone's favorite thirst-posting Bulgarian, Bozher. You see, Bozher has a one-sided love affair with an OnlyFans girl named Cyber Angel. And Cyber Angel is pretty successful in the space, 224,000 followers, and no doubt Bozher gets many impressions through his back and forths with her. But recently, people have been taking her thirst traps and grokking them to be fully nude, devaluing her brand and content. This eventually led to her announcement that she will no longer post selfies on X because of the ease of use of Grok in doing this. And of course, dehydrated ass Bozher had to shoot his shot. Good try, soldier. Now we can debate the morality of sex work all day, but I think we have to take a stand as human beings that using AI to introduce real humans into fictitious situations that could slander their reputation is definitively wrong and should be illegal. In my eyes, this falls well within the range of revenge porn, but also has severe implications. What if you use these tools to generate someone doing something highly illegal? And further, what happens if that person faces criminal charges because of this AI-generated content? This is 100% inevitable, by the way. It only takes one old judge with bad eyesight allowing a single piece of AI-generated evidence into trial. And once that happens, the entire world changes. But does the rise of AI signal the death of satire, the end of comedic parody? Because the drama would have ended here with a light joke and a few laughs, but then enter Necros. Necros is one of the top Marvel Rivals DPS players, an absolute Spider-Man menace, and a rage baiter to his core. As an internet unk, I find a lot to like in Necros. Now, a bit of context on this situation. Last week, Marvel Rivals started adding alternate universe skins to pre-existing characters, gender swaps, starting with Lady Loki. And this version of the Lord of Mischief had everyone going crazy. It had the whole crowd riled up in a totally different way. So Necros decided to capitalize on these two trending topics. Entitled his stream of the day, @Grok, turn her around and remove her cape. We in the Marvel Rivals community know what he's talking about, but without the context of Lady Loki, you can kinda see how this could be misconstrued. But really, it wasn't the greater community of the internet that took issue with this, it was the Marvel Rivals community themselves, the content creators, the streamers, and the pros. Now understand, he didn't post this on X, he didn't actually generate an image, and Lady Loki is a completely fictitious digital character. But the amount of outrage this caused cannot be understated. And I'm going to interject a bunch of these tweets with my personal opinion. I think this was a huge overreaction, a lot of performative anger in here, and it's important to remember that if you're in the industry, you can't understate how likely it is for you to actually meet the people you tweet with, so maintaining a good appearance and public brand is the foremost thought of many of these broadcasters. Of course, you have the underlayer of embarrassed nerds trying to impress streamer girls, but in my opinion, bad jokes are just that. Necros has no power to stop or influence Grok. He didn't even use Grok. But because some of the personal ties some of these streamers have to OnlyFans models, and the density of females and trans people within the space, and I don't say that as an insult, I just want to speak to the fact that hero shooters are provably some of the most diverse games out there in terms of audience. Pretty much every group of people plays hero shooters. With all these factors considered, Necros became the immediate target of everyone's frustrations with X, with Grok, with Elon Musk, It's a gigantic tangle of repressed anger exploding in one situation. Because we can't forget that Necros is extremely hated by the support community. They blame him for every balance change that doesn't suit them, and they will do it very publicly on TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, name any platform. He's like the boogeyman hiding in their closet, asking Grok to take their mom's shoes off. Necros was then forced to defend his reputation, and I'll let him speak for himself because I don't really disagree with anything he said here.
But OnlyFans Twitter girls are women using it with their consent, anything else is not. I understand that, but that's what my title is a joke to. It's literally a joke making fun of this trend. I don't understand how people like think that this means that I like support it when I'm literally condemning it. I'm making fun of this stupid trend. I think it's stupid. Of course I don't endorse people using Grok to make people have pictures of themselves without their consent. You know what I mean? Like these weird pictures. Of course not. You only know if you're like chronically online on Twitter. Half the people didn't even understand. When I booted my stream, some people did, but they were like, at Grok, can you oil up Necros? And I found that shit funny. And now this tweet's been made and everyone's like, oh my god, bro, you got it, shit. That shit's gotta go. Blame Elon? Yeah, why am I getting blamed? Yo, like, doesn't it make sense to blame the people that are using Grok for this sort of like malicious shit?
Breaking it down, let's address that Necros is not terminally online like most people. He's an actual grinder. Much of the time, he's playing Marvel Rivals, getting to the highest ranks, not really posting on X or any social media site. He has staff that does that for him, presumably. And even if he does use these apps, he's certainly not following the minute drama of these streamers and OnlyFans models. Further, Necros himself has been grokked, and when it happened at the time, no one was stressed out about it. It was treated as a comedic moment, as a joke. Do two wrongs make a right? Of course not. But what we're debating here is if Necros was wrong in the first place, which I don't believe he was. Third perspective, and perhaps most important, and something that I think the terminally online are forgetting here, is that Lady Loki isn't real. This is a fictitious character. This is a bunch of pixels. This isn't a real person, and it's not based on a real person in any way. But really, the Marvel Rivals community handles all its drama with the subtlety of a jackhammer, spraying cement chips in everyone's face. I'm not surprised at the lack of nuance in this argument. His response caused a lot of backlash on X, and I find it interesting how everyone is mad at X and Grok, but they are using this app, providing millions of impressions for ads to run against to provide revenue for the platform. And that's kind of an example of what I mean by lack of nuance, right? Everyone was jumping in Necros' comments, his reposts, the whole work, no doubt calling his org and sponsors because, you know, that's what people do in the modern era now. When they disagree with you, they try to ruin your reputation and your business. And of course we can't forget that every account that has a checkmark next to it that participated in this gigantic argument farmed money off of these impressions as well. And this is really why Necros made this formal apology in text. The responses are very interesting on a psychological level, because they walk the line of acknowledging that we know you never meant harm, but capitulation is required for acceptance by the in-crowd. I think it illustrates something very childish about the Marvel Rivals community and how they misplaced all their anger about Grok, Elon Musk, the balancing of this game onto this particular streamer because he was already approved of to be disliked. Now, I have some theories on this, and I think because the hero shooter crowd is so diverse, the equity of opinion becomes a major concern for those in the community. You have all these different factions pulling away from each other: tank players, DPS players, support players, low rank and high rank players, casual and competitive players. And for that reason, disagreement with the consensus always results in an attack on your person, usually an attack on your intelligence. Pretty much every single piece of content I put up has someone who needs to, actually, in the responses. Let me also mark that a large portion of the hero shooter community is Northern European, and there's a certain Nordic sensibility about this. From the outside looking in, from an American perspective, Nordic culture has a sort of crabs in a bucket mentality about it. I remember a story about the restaurant Noma in Denmark, and despite being world-renowned and featured on a couple TV shows, notably a really good Netflix documentary, the people of that city in Denmark pretty much refused to support that restaurant because they found the chef too proud. The fact that he excelled so much was seen as an insult to the locals in his community. And I definitely see this mental in the Marvel Rivals community, a seething anger about people that do too well. And in these particular moments, that repressed anger explodes into something very ugly. The mob mentality. Was Necros right to make light of the Grok situation? Probably not, because it's going to influence pretty much every single person going forward. But a bad joke is also just that, a bad joke. It's not some moral failing, it's not some illustration of an unbecoming character, and it's certainly not a crime. But brigading someone with the full brunt of your audience, essentially bullying them into a formal apology under threat of ruined reputation and possibly lost business? Yeah, that kind of makes you a bad person. In a moment of truly stupendous serendipity, Elon Musk uploaded a clip this morning showing off the power of Grok with some AI-generated girls and some pretty lewdish situations, and you already have some Marvel Rival streamers responding. Just an encapsulation of how we're getting lost in the sauce, fighting each other over petty drama while the people running the show laugh at our impotence. But whatever. Like, subscribe, tell me your thoughts on this, and be sure to share this drama with someone who you think needs to know.